Well, as they are every 2 years, all of the state's 7 congressional seats are up for grabs tomorrow. Most of the Midlands are represented by the District 2 and District 6 seats. In District 2, Democrat Judd Larkins is facing incumbent Republican Joe Wilson. Meanwhile, in the 6th District, candidates are Republican Duke Buckner and Democrat Jim Clyburn. Parts of the Northern Midlands fall in District 5. That would include Lee and Sumter County, parts of it anyway. That seat currently held by Republican Ralph Norman. He's running for re-election against Democrat Evangeline Hundley. Now, House District 3 covers Saluda and parts of Newberry counties. Republican Jeff Duncan is running unopposed there. As far as other issues on the ballot, there's a lot of local races around the state, and several Midlands counties have their own ballot questions. If you live in Saluda, you'll be voting for or against the new tax funding, a $49 million bond referendum that would add a school and upgrade other schools. In Newberry, you can vote yay or nay to a penny sales tax that would fund a public safety complex and jail upgrades. And in Lexington, you'll be choosing yes or no to a penny sales tax for the next 8 years. Let's dive right in here. Let's talk about the big race tomorrow. That's the governor's race. Incumbent Henry McMaster facing Democrat challenger Joe Cunningham. Where do you see the race?
It's an uphill battle. Joe McMaster had a lot of money, a big, huge war chest, and he's the incumbent. So Joe's got a real battle tomorrow unless we can really get a huge turnout on Election Day. We had a great turnout in terms of the early voting. I mean, it's the most we've had in years, I guess. So that's a good sign. But what's going to happen on Tuesday will tell the story. So it's going to be an uphill battle, but Mac may win.
I think the bigger issues that we're facing on the national level, what we are seeing with the economy, those things are really playing in because the pocketbook issues are really, I believe, driving people to the polls right now. They're looking for something different because they're recognizing something's not working, and so they're looking for a big change. I think it's going to be analogous to what we saw in 2020 in the state elections, where we flipped 3 seats for Republicans in the Senate and 2 seats in the House.
But Dave, the economy is good right now. Stock market's up, record high. Pocket table issues, yes. Gasoline is going down. Food is going down.
But my bill at the grocery store has gone up 15%, and you can't go out to lunch nowadays with 2 people for less than $25. You can't go out to eat at dinner for less than $20 per person, and that's very different than where we were even 5 years ago.
But that goes up and down, Dave.
It does go up and down, but I think it's going to have to be the answer to what are we going to be doing about inflation, because we can't deny that it's there. And I think there's been a denial by some folks within the White House to turn around and say it's transitory. It's not transitory when we're having to make a decision between what are we going to eat or getting gas in the car.
But remember, we just came out of, and we're not out of it yet, the pandemic.
Right.
Which Biden inherited, and he did a wonderful job.
We all inherited that one, right?
And he's done a wonderful job of really mastering. Now, I hear McMaster all the time. Well, South Carolina stayed open. Yes, but how many lives did we lose as a result of keeping the state open and people having to go to work with the pandemic out there in the air? So.
Well, it certainly sounds like the economy is going to play a role in some people with their votes tomorrow. And Dave, is it common for the party that is in power during the midterms to get blamed for a bad economy?
Oh, absolutely it is. I mean, if you take a look at it right now, 7 out of 10 people surveyed in a national poll just recently turned around and said the economy's America's going in the wrong direction. When you pair that with Joe Biden at a 39% approval rating, the math just does not add up for those two things to be a success for the party that's in power. So I think it's going to be a pull away for them.
But you know what happens, David? You've got one network out there who beats the drum, all the negative drum, all the time.
Seven are pumping the other argument.
Well, and there is a third of the country that just watches that one network. They don't hear the good news over on the other networks. And that has really poisoned a lot of people's minds.
Well, and I think that we have to start then taking a look at people. And one of the reasons that you watch here at home is because you're engaging on the issues. I mean, there's nothing better than the lady who walks up to me at a grocery store and says, hey, listen, I can understand what's going on when my husband and my father-in-law are having a conversation, because you're caring about what's going on in the political sphere. And I think political involvement of people is great. I mean, you take a look at it today. early voting has nearly eclipsed what we saw in the primary election. We sat here on the primary night and thought to ourselves, we had this conversation both on and off the air, how paltry the turnout was, because 1 in 6 people, 1 in 6 registered voters in South Carolina had not even were the only ones to have shown up for the polls. 5 out of 6 people sat at home.
But what happened? The legislature did a good thing.
Yes, they did.
By passing the early voting thing. 15 days out, and that made a heck of a difference. Poll lines have not been long. They've been steady, but not. And I've traveled with Richland County. I've done some out of the county, visiting polls also. So that was a real good thing.
It was
so
a very
happy
good thing.
to see that turnout.
And I think that's going to probably incentivize some people to actually show up to the polls.
All right, we're not expecting really any upsets, any major surprises here in South Carolina tomorrow. It could happen. We're not saying that it won't, but we're not expecting that right now, at least from what I'm understanding from the both of you.
Right.
Nationwide, I know last time you were here, Jim, you said you thought the Democrats were going to lose the House. And the Senate, you didn't really know. You thought you might maintain it. What are your thoughts tonight?
I think we'll maintain the Senate and maybe even pick up a couple of seats. I'm pleased to see what's happening in Pennsylvania and what's happening in Nevada now, Arizona. A little worried about what happens there. Over in Georgia, it's going to be a runoff, I believe. I had hoped that it would not be a runoff, but the way it looks now, it's probably going to be a runoff because Georgia has a 50% plus one situation. But I think overall, it will not be a bloodbath. For the party in power at this point, and that is the Democratic Party. I think we're going to do better than most people think.
Is it going to be a bloodbath?
I think that the Republicans are going to pick up anywhere between 15 and 35 seats in the House. That's a decent sway. The real number to play with is the majority number. Keep in mind there are 50 Republicans, 48 Democrats, and 2 independents that caucus with the Democrats. And the only reason that the Democrats have control right now in the Senate is because Vice President Kamala Harris throws that vote. The Republicans only have to flip 1 seat to take the majority. 1. That's it.
But I think we're going to pick up that one. I really think we're going to pick up that one.
So
seat.
let's talk about then the other. We'll talk tomorrow night about the other 2 that are at play, and have a real discussion about what's going to go on and how that's going to impact.
All right, Jim Felder, as always, thank you so much. Dave, thank you so much.
JR.
These guys are going to be with us tomorrow night for our election coverage. Remember, those polls open at 7 o'clock, first thing in the morning. They're open until 7 o'clock tomorrow night. If you're wanting to see a sample ballot, if you're wanting to know all about voter information, all you have to do is go to our website right now, WLTX.com. We've got all of that information there for you, easy to understand. You can also text the word VOTE to 803-776-9508. We'll send the information right to your phone.
Get that sample ballot.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks again.